Part 4, brought to you by the Revolutionary Anti-Imperialist Movement. You mentioned earlier that the Black Panthers had sold Chairman Mao's Little Red Book. What was the Black Panther Party a communist organization, and what were its political influences? What were the main influences? What did people read? Can you elaborate?
Sure. I think by far in my lifetime there have been very few black organizations within the United States, if not political organizations in the United States, that were advanced politically as the Black Panther Party. From my association with them, its main focus was the defeat of U.S. imperialism and establishment of socialism within the United States through a revolution. They took the position of Malcolm X of armed self-defense being a human right and expounded upon that to patrolling the police departments, etc., and began the incipient development of the Black Liberation Army. People read a lot of Mao Zedong, the Algerian writer Frantz Fanon. We read things by Kwame Nkrumah, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, Regis Debray, Ho Chi Minh, Cabral. All the national liberation struggle fighters around the world were required reading of the Black Panther Party. We were required to know how to operate weapons, how to field strip pistols, how to shoot accurately and use weapons, whether they be single shot weapons or carbines or AR-15s. We're required to be able to do those things. We made sure we went in the field weekly and sold the paper and served the people through the free breakfast and the free health programs. So we made constant contact with the people. And that caused a conflict between the leadership in Oakland and those people who worked around the country, the rank and file. Because rank and file had to be in contact with the people in order to even survive. Whereas those in the leadership, fortunately or unfortunately, could have had funders or people who were supporters of the party giving them money to keep the offices afloat. So it made a little difference between how we actually handled things. But we certainly focused a lot of our reading on the work of Mao Zedong, the Red Book, Combat Liberalism, the 3 main points of discipline, the 8 points of attention, where do correct ideas come from, a single spark can start a prairie fire. These were the basic readings of the party. We made sure we read them all the time. Works of Cornforth on dialectical and historical materialism, writings of Lenin on state and revolution, what is to be done. Those were basic readings we had to do in order to transform ourselves from just oppressed peoples living in the belly of the beast of the United States into ones who were going to be revolutionary fighters, who were able to take on U.S. imperialism, defeat U.S. imperialism, and establish a socialist country with socialism with the United States and around the world.
A lot of people downplay the communist influences on the Black Panthers, and they soft pedal the history. Can you comment on that?
Sure. Well, like I mentioned earlier, the basic approach to the Black Panther Party that I was associated with was that of communist revolution. We were about communism. The free breakfast program, the free clinics, the busted in prison programs, all those programs were ways of winning hearts and minds of the people towards the party and its program for communism. The party was not about anything but communism, but about the defeat of U.S. imperialism, the defeat of the U.S. and anywhere in the world and all Western imperialism. Anybody who tries to paint the party any other way is simply trying to impose a new modified view of history as to what really occurred. That's not what occurred. And if you want to take that position, you're just changing history. You can't take what happened after 71, where you had a degenerated line of the party, and make that the Black Panther Party, because it wasn't. The Black Panther Party began as a revolutionary black self-defense organization that took the name of the Black Panther Party from the struggles in Alabama and Mississippi. They borrowed that name, so it came out from the struggle. It was not an organization that was about voting. It was about armed self-defense. It was about defending the community against the campus, the avaricious businessman, against the bad educational system, against the prison system, etc.
Some people within the American so-called left, the Trotskyists, the First Worldists, the crypto-Trotskyists, they say that the Black Panther Party, that nationalism only divides the working class. And they say that all workers are the same, and they say that nationalism is against communist revolution.
Well, I don't think anybody can argue, if you're honest, that the theft of the labor of the imported slaves built and developed U.S. imperialism. Even though side by side you had a developing white agricultural and working class, even in the beginning of the U.S. empire, there was right there a difference. The blacks were held as slaves while the whites were free. And even whites who were held as indentured servants were able to get their freedom sooner or later. So right there, that belies the myth that everybody has had the same situation. Because everybody's situation is different. Historically, the labor of the non-white has enriched the lives of the whites. There is quite a bit of a difference between the life that a laborer lives in the United States and a laborer lives in, let's say, southern Mexico. There's a great difference between the life a laboring person, a person who works for a living lives, experiences in, let's say, Chicago or New York, than someone who lives in Johannesburg or Sri Lanka. There's a major difference between the life of a Filipino in Mindanao and that of someone from Canada or France or West Germany or Israel or these other countries. There is a marked difference. And even though we all may be quote unquote laboring, that is going to work to earn a living, the relationship of those large bodies of people who are either enslaved or whose labor and or natural resources have been stolen from them, their lives are essentially different than that of the laboring person within the so-called first world. So I don't really see how people could say that national liberation divides. What national liberation should do is unite people around the world against the theft of the labor and the theft of the resources of the third world. It pits the labor aristocrat or the worker in England against the worker in Sri Lanka, because the worker in England wants to maintain his privilege, his or her privilege in the world. And this is an objective fact. The worker in the first world has to commit a class suicide against his or her own privileges and fight on the leadership of the worker in the oppressed nation of the third world. If not, they'll always be holding on to their first world or white privilege. And this is just the way it is.